Need a break?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Good. Hmm?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Let's go.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back. We are in Paladin. This is Grinning Goats Boomsday card valuation stream for the Lightforge tier list. You can find the tier list at www.thelightforge.com, and the caffeine is kicking in.
So good. All
so
right.
good.
We are talking about Paladin.
We are also in like the 6 hour of this stream.
Yes, we are.
So let's do this. Let's see how Paladin fares. Spoiler, good as usual.
Very good. Very,
Seems
very
like every expansion, it's like, how did Paladin do? Oh, really good in the arena? Who would have thunk?
Really good.
So
We're
let's
starting in the fourth bucket.
let's pause for a second here. I know we were trying to make this every 15 minutes, but the reason Paladin did really good is not just that they got really good cards, as they always do. It's that Blizzard keeps inexplicably bucketing all the Paladin cards that are very normal and easily played and good, as if they were like terribly complicated pieces of machinery that like new players are going to mess up, and putting them all in the lower buckets. Like you saw this with Silver Sword. You're gonna see it now with like all their other cards. Like this is gonna be terrible.
Okay, so I will say the next many cards, all of these are severely, in our opinion, underbucketed, which means every time you draft this, you're extracting a good amount of value relative to the goodness of the of what you should expect from one of these picks from the buckets. So we start off in the fourth bucket, and we have Shrinkray. Shrinkray is a 5-mana spell, and you set the attack and health of all minions to 1. It's okay. I mean, like we have it at a very good card, right? Like this is
it should be like a second bucket card.
Yeah,
like
we think that
maybe third bucket.
If you have something on the board, right? Like this could just be 5 mana, deal lots of damage to their minions, right? Like essentially, it's that. Or even if you don't have a board and they have like they are winning huge with like 3 minions, you just play this and you say, I just bought myself tons of turns, right? So Shrinkray is fine. Is it the best card? No, but is it better than like a fourth bucket card? Definitely.
Yeah, and
definitely.
It's a Paladin board clear, right? Paladins don't have board clears. This is useful. And this is not just equality, where you can cast equality and nothing happens because they're still hitting you to the face. Like, you can cast this from an empty board, and you have totally screwed your opponent over.
Yep. So this is a really good card for its bucket. You should pick it. Okay. Now on to the second card.
Glotron.
That we believe is, Glotron.
Glotron is a 1-mana 1/3 mech. It is magnetic. A 1-mana 1/3, by the way, is like Dire Maul. I think it's in the 7th bucket. I think we rated like a little. Yeah, it's over here. It's 96. It's nothing special. One of the better cards in the 7th bucket, but that's about it. Glotron, on the other hand, is in the 4th bucket, which is a lot higher than the 7th, and we think it's still underbucketed. I would put it in the 3rd bucket, maybe even the 2nd, because one of the problems with 1-drops, right, is that you get it later on in the game and then nothing happens, right? You're like, I have a 1-mana 2/1. Good for me. I really just lost a card, especially if you're a Paladin and you're like, I can just hero power. Glotron doesn't suffer from that because you're a Paladin and you're going to get some mechs. Paladin mech synergies. Paladin is the mech synergy class. This is like ordained by the gods of Blizzard when they made this set. So Glotron is going to come in, and it is going to be 1 mana +1/+3 on one of your several minions, like, especially if you draft a mech deck, maybe even like 6 or 7 or 8. And that becomes really useful. So there it is. That's the use. +1/+3 is a good buff.
Definitely draft this. Once again, like Adalta says, you're going to get mechs for Paladin, right? Because they're offered a lot of class mechs, some really good class mechs, as you will see. So
yeah, and 1/3s are just good, period, too, right? In Paladin, because you can just hero power on turn 2, and then you've gotten a really good curve.
Yep, solid turn 1 play. All right, and speaking of good mechs that are underbucketed, we go to the 5th bucket now.
By the way, before I even get to this is how mechy Paladins are. Skaterbot's a 150 in Paladin. You know how it's like a 138 generally, and people are like, oh, this is so high. Well, it's a 150 in Paladin. Why? Because this class is Mechs.
Yep. All right, so we're moving on to the 5th bucket, and we have Annoy O Module, which we think is severely underbucketed. So the score we have is a 148, which would put it, solidly in the 1st bucket. But you get to pick it in the 5th bucket here. Annoy Module is a 4-mana, 2/4 mech with Magnetic, Divine Shield, and Taunt. If you don't have any other mechs on the board and you play it by itself, it's not the best card, but it's totally serviceable.
It's a Silvermoon Guardian with a Taunt. It's good.
Or it's just a lone champ that you are able to play without the conditions, right? It's just good. And the fact that it's a mech, so it can be buffed, or you can use it to buff other mechs, get the initiative, and then gain the advantage of the Divine Shield. It's disgusting. It's really, really freaking good. So it's like a Blessing of Kings that can also double as a minion kind of thing, right? It's a buff, but it can also be a minion. You're going to have the mechs. And once again, you can disagree with whether or not it should be 1st bucket, but I think you have to agree that this is super duper good for a 5th bucket pick.
Yep. And by the way, giving someone a Divine Shield, really insanely good. And what happens if you don't have initiative with a mech? Oh, you just make a random existing mech a Taunt, Divine Shield, +4 health, and +2 attack. Right? Like, imagine if you can't get a synergy going and it's just turn 9, and then you end up having to play your, War Gear with this card. Well, now you have a 7/9 Divine Shield Taunt for 9 mana. And that's, not getting value from this card. That's yeah, I couldn't get on the board and actually use this proactively. Too bad. I only have a 7/9 Divine Shield Taunt on the board.
Yep. Okay. All right. So the next card, I think you should talk about. It's one of your favorite cards.
The next card is a 186. So before we're talking about how Annoy O Module is so good, it's a 148. It should be in the solidly in the 1st bucket. That's fine. 186 is where things start getting a little crazy. 186 is above a true silver champion. It's where Sword is better than that. Unidentified Maul is around where this one is. And Vine Cleaver is worse than this, Consecration worse than this, Argent Protector, Eldor Peacekeeper, all worse than this. This is a game-winning card. It is a win condition card in the Paladin. And it is not difficult to play. And it synergizes with random Paladin cards that already exist, all those things that generate dudes that go into your hand that people really like to pick, even though I don't like to pick them. It is a 6-mana 3/4 Battlecry. Give all minions in your hand +2/+2. And that means you could play them out on the same turn, which is really, really, really key for the Glowstone Technician, because you don't really want to play this card on turn 6. It's not terrible if you play it on turn 6, especially if your entire hand is full of minions and a 3/4 actually does something on the board instead of just goes to die. But if you wait, and it's Paladin, right? Think about how your hand works. You may or may not play a 1-drop. You don't play a 2-drop. You play a 3-drop. You play a 4-drop. You play a 5-drop. You steed, or you play a 6-drop. You play a Vine Cleaver, or maybe play 2 different cards. And eventually, you're probably going to play Glowstone Technician in a period where you have a pretty decent-sized hand, right? The algorithm simulates all this stuff. It knows what you're playing as a Paladin. And as a Paladin, you're not playing multiple cards. And you may or may not draw cards, right? Or just have cards that draw cards. And this just gives you so much card advantage and so much tempo. Late tempo cards are always, always undervalued by people. They may be a little difficult to play, too. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to play. You see that issue with Silver Sword. Silver Sword's been in the... What's Silver Sword in now? Have we gone to the 2nd bucket? Alright, Silver Sword's gone to the 2nd bucket. It used to be in the 3rd bucket. It moved up by half a bucket, which means the win rates for Silver Sword is not as ridiculous as it should be, because it's the best Paladin card, and I think all the expert arena players agree on that. but it's apparently this like delay in tempo that you gain is apparently a little bit difficult for average players. So the average win rate for this card is probably not going to be too high. This is a bit even more tricky to play, in my opinion, than Silver Sword. But it should still go up from here. Like, I can't see this card staying in the 6th bucket or even in the 5th bucket. I think no matter how much you're misplaying this card, the 4th bucket, you'll still get the 4th bucket value out of it. And if you are playing this card right, if you put it into a deck, if you think about things and play some of your card draw cards before you play this, it is easily top bucket.
Yeah, and once again, this is just we don't have to go through sort of like the discussions that we previously had, right? It's like what's better, like True Silver or Glowstone Tech? No, now you're asking what is better, Swamp Leech or Glowstone Tech? Like it's really just once again for practice and it is helpful, when we think about these cards, in terms of sort of number one, testing the algorithm, and number two, just like it helps us think of the cards in a more detailed way. But what we want for this video is to give you guys the practical advice to succeed. And at the end of the day, you draft this card.
Mm-hmm. Always.
That's it. Yeah. The Swamp Leech, not gonna get it done. All right.
Next card, you want to talk about Prismatic Lens?
Not really, but I will. Prismatic Lens, 4 mana, draw a minion and a spell from your deck, swap their costs. You don't have to think too hard about sort of like, oh, what are the potential consequences here? You just draw a minion and a spell, right? And if you do want to think about it a lot, Paladins have very small spells as well. So you can get like small minions or whatever. It's a decent draw, and it deserves to be better than the 6 bucket. That's it.
The thing with this card is when you swap their cost, that's not like an even thing. You always benefit because you play the cheaper card first at a discount. You get tempo, and the card that's overcosted, you can just like hold for like a number of turns, right? Until you don't need the tempo, and then you play that card. So whenever you swap these mana costs around, it's not like, oh, well, it's even, right? Because you gain some, you lose some. No, the thing you lose like 3 turns later. The thing you're gaining like now.
Right. Whether it's a spell. So the only thing is, if you wanted, if you had to play the thing that got flipped into bad.
Okay, fine. Right? But that's like a much lower chance.
Right. That's a much lower chance. Otherwise, yeah, you just play the cheaper thing first, whether it's a spell or the minion. Right, and you have gained a decent amount of mana.
Yep.
So, it's good. It's definitely good for the 6 bucket.
Yeah. Okay. Now those are the Paladin like super cards, kind of that you're like, all right, fine, Blizzard, make the Paladin powerful. Don't just give them these really good cards. Like Paladin has 2 first bucket cards, and then they put them both in like the 5th and 6th bucket. Like, why? Other classes have good cards. Their cards aren't even as good as the Paladins, and then they get them like bucketed like more correctly than the Paladins. I don't get it. Anyway, and the thing is, these may not sort themselves out fully either. I guess they are a little bit tricky. I don't know. But if you're a good player, and especially if you draft like mech-centric kind of like decks, you are going to love the Paladin. Christology is our next card. So these cards are no longer the power cards. Now we're in like the normal cards. It's in the 6 bucket. It kind of sucks. It belongs in the 6 bucket. 2 mana, draw 2 1-attack minions from your deck. Sometimes you'll have 2 1-attack minions from your deck and it's fine. Sometimes you won't, and it's not so fine. Kind of where you're at.
That's appropriate. Like that's okay. Anyways, next, still within the 6 bucket, new secret. Auto Defense Matrix. 1 mana, secret. When one of your minions is attacked, give it Divine Shield. Really annoying. This changes kind of like the... this will definitely add a new dimension to board trades, right? Like, whenever a new secret is introduced, you want to think, does this matter? Like, does this actually change the way I do things on the board? auto defense matrix, yeah, it will change the order, and it will create this sort of like, you know,
You always lose situation.
yeah.
Like, there's no way to play
So
around Paladin secrets anymore between this, Redemption, and Noble Sack.
yeah, so it adds another dimension, annoyingly so for the person facing paladins.
No, it literally makes it impossible. You don't get a read on this. There's nothing. It's not offered any more than the other ones. It's not any better than Redemption or that much worse than Redemption. There's no read. There's no anything.
Yep. Anyways, we think this is appropriately bucketed at 6.
Yeah, we think it's appropriately bucketed, but keep in mind Repentance. Sorry, not where's Redemption? Redemption is in the 7th bucket, and it's a very similar card. It even has Death Rattle synergies that this guy doesn't. This is not really like necessarily a better card than Redemption. So I don't know if they're gonna raise Redemption after this, because Redemption will get better after this, or if they're gonna lower Auto Defense Matrix. But there's no reason these two cards should not be in this bucket.
Okay.
Finally, we have a Meccano Egg. Yeah, it's a 5 mana 05 mech. It's an egg. So it has a Death Rattle. Summon an 8/8 Robosaur. This is okay-ish for the bucket.
It's okay.
It's kind of like you gotta trigger it. The 05 on a mech body may seem like, oh, this is really good, but it's only really good for buffs that are neutral, right? Your 2 buffs that you have that are Paladin class cards is a 1/3 and a 2/4. So I guess the 2/4 comes at Taunt, and that makes it a little better, but like a 2/9 Taunt is still not the best thing. A 1/8 is pretty bad, actually. So it's kind of got awkward synergies with the buffs that come in this set. And for 5 mana, 8/8 is not like that great, right? Like if an 8/8 comes
delayed
out,
8/8,
yeah,
it's like
it's like at least a 1-turn delayed 8/8. That's if you can trigger it. Like it's just the payoff is not worth it.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those cards that we identified as it's not egregiously bad in the 6 bucket, because the 6 bucket is not too great in general, but a lot of times you can do better than this egg. So it's in the 6 bucket. It's fine-ish, but it's definitely not one of the highest ones in the bucket.
All right. So here you have Paladin. I think we were pretty clear about what you do with Paladin, right? You take Mechs. You exploit the fact that a lot of their good cards are under-bucketed, and you take Mechs and you buff Mechs.
Yep. Okay. So you want to talk about the legendary cards?
Sure. So you have a mid-bucketed legendary card in Crystal Smith Kangor. It's 2 mana, 1/2, Divine Shield, Lifesteal. Your healing is doubled. It's fine.
It's just good. Like, you don't even really have to proc the effect.
Yeah.
Just 2 mana for a 1/2 Divine Shield, Lifesteal.
Yeah.
That's good. So yeah, we like this card. We think that it's a solid pick in the 2nd bucket. And in the 3rd bucket, we have Kangor's Endless Army, Resurrect 3 friendly mechs. They keep any magnetic upgrades. This is a good pick. Like, this is, once again, a decent value pick for the very last
This is not
bucket.
a good card. It's just a good pick for the very last
It's a good pick,
if you have a heavy mech deck.
Right. Once again, remember that mechs are not too big, and you can think of all the sexy magnetic combinations that you can build, and it's like, oh man, I summon all these huge mechs. No, a lot of times it's just gonna, like, one of those mechs would just be a Globot, right? Like, by itself. Small mechs, it's gonna happen. A lot of 1/1 mechs, right? There's a lot of neutral 1/1 mechs. That's gonna happen. So yeah, it's not great.
All right.
That's it.
Well,
Paladin.
That's Paladin. And we'll see you in Priest next. This is Adwicta.
This is Merps. See ya.